The Forgotten History of African Kingdoms. Africa, a continent often misrepresented, reduced in mainstream history to tales of colonization, poverty, or struggle. Yet beneath these surface-level narratives lies an untapped well of culture, innovation, and achievement. The Africa of the past is a story of empires, unrivaled wealth, and advanced civilizations. What if we told you that forgotten African kingdoms once rivaled the great powers of Europe, Asia, and the Americas? This is the story of Africa's ancient glory, a history deliberately buried, overshadowed, and ignored. Join us as we rediscover the forgotten history of African kingdoms, an exploration of their golden eras, cultural brilliance, and global influence. This is not just a history lesson, it's a reframing of how we view a continent whose legacy is far richer than we've been led to believe. For centuries, Africa has been painted as a monolith, a land of untouched wilderness or perpetual chaos. These stereotypes have been perpetuated by colonial narratives that sought to justify exploitation by claiming Africans were uncivilized, lacking kingdoms, or incapable of innovation. However, nothing could be further from the truth. To understand this misrepresentation, we must unpack how colonial narratives erased history. European colonizers suppressed knowledge of African empires to bolster their own superiority. Even today, school curriculums around the world often diminish Africa's pre-colonial achievements. But Africa is not, and never was, a blank canvas. Its kingdoms were jewels, thriving hubs of trade, culture, and knowledge. And now it's time to look beyond the myths and reclaim this forgotten past. Africa's past is as diverse as its 54 modern nations. To understand its history, we must journey through time and across vast landscapes to meet legendary rulers, explore architectural marvels, and witness astonishing advancements. Our first stop takes us to one of West Africa's earliest great kingdoms, the Ghana Empire. Rising between the 4th and 11th centuries, Ghana became a powerhouse, controlling gold and salt trade routes across the Sahara. Traders moved through its borders, linking sub-Saharan Africa with the rest of the world. Its capital, Kumbi Saleh, was a thriving hub with stone masonry and an impressive royal court. The empire's wealth wasn't accidental. It was built through brilliant governance and strategic diplomacy. Remarkably, historians have noted Ghana's system of shared rule, where kings protected Muslim traders while maintaining local African traditions, fostering harmony among diverse communities. From the Ghana Empire emerged another giant, the Mali Empire. Founded in the 13th century, Mali reached its zenith under the great ruler Mansa Musa, whose wealth became the stuff of legend. So rich was this emperor that during a pilgrimage to Mecca, he reportedly distributed so much gold that he disrupted economies across North Africa and the Middle East. Yet gold was only one facet of Mali's wealth. Timbuktu, one of its cities, was a beacon of knowledge. Home to some of the world's earliest universities and vast libraries, Timbuktu welcomed scholars, poets, and scientists from around the globe. This intellectual brilliance placed Mali not just as a commercial empire, but as a cultural and academic titan. As Mali declined, the Songhai Empire rose to prominence. However, it was not just a continuation, it was a revolution. Songhai expanded its borders aggressively, becoming the largest empire in African history. Its strength lay in centralized governance, with efficient taxation and a professional military. Songhai was also a cultural epicenter. Scholars traveled from far and wide to the city of Gao, and Timbuktu retained its prestige under Songhai's control. The empire's innovations in astronomy, medicine, and agriculture reflected a society deeply committed to advancement and self-reliance, long before European interference. Shifting south, we discover Great Zimbabwe, a kingdom defined by its awe-inspiring architecture. At its heart lay the Great Enclosure, a massive stone structure built without mortar, a masterpiece of engineering. This city buzzed with trade, connecting Swahili merchants to other parts of Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, and even China. Despite its grandeur, Great Zimbabwe has been at the center of a disheartening historical debate. Early European settlers dismissed the idea that Africans could have built such an impressive city, claiming instead that it must have been constructed by outsiders. Archaeological evidence, however, tells a different story, one that emphasizes the genius of the Shona people who created it. Rounding off our journey is the Kingdom of Benin in West Africa. Known for its artistic brilliance, Benin created intricate bronze sculptures that rivaled the works of European Renaissance artists. What's more, its capital, Benin City, was the envy of explorers who described its advanced city planning, clean streets, and organized governance. Benin also maintained strong diplomacy, navigating a complex world of trade where Portuguese merchants sought ivory, pepper, and slaves. Yet its power wasn't just economic. Benin's cultural legacy leaves behind a trove of artifacts that continue to astound the world. Beyond their military might and economic prowess, these kingdoms left behind a vast cultural inheritance that influenced the world in surprising ways. African empires were not merely functional societies, they were creators of beauty. From the intricate metalwork of Benin to the awe-inspiring stone structures of Great Zimbabwe, African creativity knew no bounds. Even today, elements of African art resonate globally, inspiring modern architecture, sculpture, and fashion. Few people realize that Africa was home to some of the world's earliest universities. Timbuktu, for instance, housed the fabled Sankore University, where manuscripts covered topics ranging from astronomy to medicine. These centers of knowledge drew scholars from as far as Persia, crafting a global intellectual exchange centuries before Western universities rose to prominence. In African societies, history wasn't confined to written records. It lived in the stories passed down through generations, epic poems, songs, and performances that preserved the triumphs, failures, and lessons of the past. These oral traditions served as the heartbeat of African culture, ensuring history remained alive even under oppression. Though much of Africa's history has been overlooked, its kingdoms profoundly influenced the world. Each empire contributed to a vast global network of trade. Gold from Mali flowed into Europe and Asia, while Great Zimbabwe's trade links extended to faraway lands. Africa was not isolated. It was a vital player in the global economic system for centuries. The transatlantic slave trade forcibly scattered millions of Africans across the globe, yet their cultures survived. Today, the music, art, and spirituality of the African diaspora bear traces of ancient kingdoms, showcasing the resilience and adaptability of their heritage. If African civilizations were so advanced, why have they been forgotten or dismissed? The answer lies in the deliberate erasure of their stories. The conquest of Africa during the scramble for Africa in the late 19th century wasn't just about land, it was about narrative control. Colonizers deliberately dismissed African kingdoms as primitive to justify their domination. Entire histories were erased, and artifacts were stolen or destroyed. Western education systems perpetuated the myth of Africa as the Dark Continent. For generations, textbooks ignored the achievements of African kingdoms, focusing instead on colonialism or geopolitical struggles. This narrative has left unlearning to historians, activists, and creators seeking to reclaim Africa's place in world history. Reclamation of African history isn't easy. Many artifacts from the continent remain in European museums, while African historians are still fighting to amplify their voices in a global arena. Yet progress is being made. Scholars, archaeologists, and communities across Africa are piecing together the stories that were once suppressed. Recent discoveries illuminate what was previously hidden. Archaeological digs reveal ancient tools, structures, and manuscripts that underscore Africa's leading role in human development. Scholars are working with communities to incorporate oral histories into written records, merging tradition and innovation to present a fuller picture of Africa's past. The responsibility also lies with us, the audience. By challenging stereotypes, supporting African research, and amplifying African voices, we help redraw the map of history. As we revisit the opening question, what do we really know about Africa's ancient past? The answer becomes clear. Africa's kingdoms were not peripheral, they were central to shaping our world. Their legacies hold lessons about resilience, sustainability, and the potential of human innovation. Acknowledging these histories is not just about the past, it's about inspiring the future. It's about embracing a narrative that celebrates diversity and human ingenuity. So let us close with an invitation to learn, to question, and to embrace Africa for what it truly is, a continent of kings, queens, and untold brilliance waiting to be rediscovered.